get started, we kind of wanted to lay the foundation, because I know a lot of people, they think a lot of different directions when they hear Afrofuturism, when they think about tech and some of these things as foreign concepts. But what we're going to do is kind of bring these things home and show how they directly impact you. You are absolutely a part of the Afrofuturism ecosystem. If you are in any way involved with African American people, we'll explain to you why. And also bring these things to a real life, tangible, occupational touch point by speaking to some of the fantastic people that we have on the panel who work within this industry, and hopefully we can inspire you to put your hands in it, either as a mentor, someone who supports African Americans and African diaspora people in their journey to gain access to careers in tech, or if you yourself have been interested and for some reason convinced yourself that you can't do it or don't have what it takes, we'd love to convince you otherwise, because we need you ready. So ladies, just a quick round of applause, make everybody feel welcome. And we have some questions, thank you, Jayden, that I kind of want to start off piggybacking off of this video. It had some really interesting points and pieces. And one of those pieces was that geographical relocation. As many folks might know, the tech boom, the current tech boom really started out in what is called Silicon Valley out in California. If you don't know much about that area, it's central and kind of like South Central California, and it is extremely white. When I say extremely white, I mean it's not even for regular white people, it's for wealthy white people. Universities that are there, Stanford is right in the middle of Silicon Valley. I spent 2 years there myself as a dean at a college there that was trying to bring in diversity. And I was talking to Basha, I remember I went 4 days without seeing another black person once. 4 days, on the job, walking around, not hiding in my office, but living, going out, and within 5 miles of our campus, the headquarters for LinkedIn, the headquarters for Facebook, now Meta, Mountain View, which is the home of Windows, Microsoft, Google, all of these places within 5 miles of me. And I could go 4 days without seeing another black person. So that gives you an example of who was being invited to the party in Silicon Valley in that tech boom, who was being given those opportunities to take bright, beautiful ideas and walk in and have somebody go, here's $10 million for you to do that. Not because they're really smarter than anyone else, not because they were well connected, they just happened to be there. And if you could afford to be there and be in those spaces and be in those rooms and be white, you had a shot. So I wanted we can run down, you can do each one of you answer, or just if you have something relevant on the topic, if you just like to speak to the relevance of tech growth and innovation, leaving that centerpiece of Silicon Valley and now going into other parts of the country where other folks can have access to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for posing that question, and thank you all for being here today. Yes, although he gave an overview of what Synapse does, and although primarily we're known for the event, our core and why we were started was to be a nonprofit. So a lot of what we do touches economic development and keeping track of how many of those companies and individuals are relocating to Florida. One, we want to brand Florida, of course, as a place not to just live and play, but also a place where you can grow and expand your business. So that trend line runs into a lot of what we do. So we have seen an increase in people relocating here, and our job is to help them navigate those resources once they relocate here to Florida. So it's definitely important for us to be connectors and aware of the resources here, and there's still a lot of work to be done in helping people align on where to go, and I think that's a lot of what we'll probably pull out of this conversation, is helping people connect to those resources, because they do exist, the talent does exist, the companies do exist, especially from a diverse representation component, but it's like, how do we amplify their voices, how do we connect them with the resources, getting them into the right rooms, having them part of the right conversations. And so that's ultimately why we as Synapse are starting to work and do and connecting with other groups, especially those that are here on the panel. So I would say there's definitely improvement to be done in that area, and something we can continue to strive towards.
You can tell Basha does this frequently, but she got right to 90 seconds and stopped. That was the rest.
I'm not that good, but let me just say, for any young people, you've got to be willing to get outside of your comfort zone to get to where you want to be. I used to be a transmission engineer at Black Entertainment Television. When I would go to conferences, not only was I the youngest person in the room, I was probably the only black person in the room, right? So you have to be willing to go sit in those areas, absorb what you can absorb, and then I moved down to Florida to become the director of post-production operations for ION Television. I had never been to Florida before. This is like, I grew up in San Diego in a little city called El Cajon, and I was the only black kid in my school from the 4th to the 6th grade. Being in Florida is like that to me, because as you saw where you were in Palo Alto, there were like 2 black people in the whole ION Television. You know, and you have to be able to be comfortable in that. You've got to be able to get out of your head and deal and do what you need to do in that space so that you can progress on. You know, and it was for more money. It was a guy I knew who worked at BET, said, hey, I need some help down in Florida. Cool, I had the qualifications, did what needed to be done. It's doable. It might not be comfortable all the time. You know, there was a lot of, you know, going home, oh, is this the right decision? Oh my God, you know, bring my family down here. But, you know, as time goes on, as you start to work things out, it works if you work it. I don't know how long that was.
Okay, so I'm Lejiste, currently Executive Director of Black Orlando Tech, and also own my own engineering and tech consulting firm. So my belief is that innovation happens in places where Silicon Valley wasn't really it. And so I'm not surprised that that they're coming companies and funds and innovation is starting to be seen in other places. I truly believe that innovation happens in a space of need. If you think back, you know, growing up, we are innovators. Why? Because we always made do in the space of lack or things that we need to get through. That's what we've always persevered, we've always pushed forward. And even when it comes to innovation and what innovation is defined as, you know, in Silicon Valley, what they define it as is not what the true essence of innovation is. It's what we see in our homes every day, even as we grew up. I talk about the rabbit ears and, you know, trying to find making sure the antenna work and putting the foil on there so we can get a better connection. That's innovation. The thing about it is, because it's coming from us, they want to keep us away from knowing that we are true innovators. When you think about the stories that come out and a group of kids have found a way to clean water. A group of kids have found another source to create energy. Where are those kids coming from? Where are they coming from? A lot of times it's Africa, exactly. You know, why? Because they needed it. They lacked energy, they lacked these resources, but they knew they needed it, and they said, what can I do to get over this block or this issue and keep pushing? That's where innovation is coming. So am I surprised that it's coming and it's now in Florida and these other places that's Silicon Valley? No, that's where it should have been in the first place. And so what we need to now do is have the money follow that, because the money is still over there and it makes no sense why. The other thing is, the big trend, if you will now, is not just innovation to be innovative, it's innovation to help people. So we see a lot of social impact. We see a lot of health, innovation and health. One of the biggest, you know, a lot of the companies right now, when I do pitch competitions, I'm typically a judge there, and a lot of the ones that are coming out are these innovations in health. You know, how do we detect cancer faster? You know, how do we detect these diseases? How do we help people with certain situations? If it's not health, it's social impact. How do we make it easier for these people to find access to the resources they're supposed to have anyways? And so we're starting to see more of that. And I think that's the true essence of innovation and how it's supposed to be. Creating these solutions that's going to truly help us as a community and as a people to go further and be the best that we can be. So not surprised. Like I said, the money needs to follow, the resources need to follow, so that way we can truly go further in this world together.
Innovation, innovation, innovation. I feel like we all innovative. We just need to tap into it. So, again, I'm Lynn Johnson, playing Harrell Johnson. That's Lynn Johnson, we play Challenger, so we used to say that. So, during the pandemic, I got laid off from my job. And so I had that passion to help people register for COVID vaccines. And we got seniors, they're the first ones in line to get a vaccine, but you tell them to go on the computer and set up an appointment. First of all, where's the computer? Where's the, what app? What am I doing? So I felt the need that I needed to, actually I owned a hair salon as well. So I got this letter that I had to close my hair salon, no human contact. So I had this business, empty space, and then I also had no job. So I took myself there and said, hey, what can I do with this space? So I decided to help people sign up for COVID vaccines, teaching seniors, because they was first in line, how to sign up for a COVID vaccine, or inviting my friends in and say, hey, we need to go online and get these people set up. And as a result of that, I realized that we have so many people that have nice computers and laptops, and they have these lace laid across the tower, whatever, just to say they have a computer, but they're afraid of it. They're afraid that they're gonna break it. So after that, you know, getting them signed up, I realized that I also need to go in and teach you how to use the computer. Make you know it's a fun thing to do. If you break it, you're a genius, because once you break it, then we gotta fix it, right? But if you just don't touch it, in 3 years you're gonna buy another one, because that data, that information is gonna be outdated, the software, you're gonna find yourself back buying another one. So everybody's innovative. I like to get with groups and talk about technology. You know, what you need to learn, what you feel like you're lacking in, why are you afraid of it? You know what I mean? So sometimes it's turning it on, not knowing the apps that's there, or just not knowing where to go from there. If you don't go on vacations, I tell people, you can get in front of your computer, log on, and you can go anywhere you want to, just right there. And if you don't want anybody else on your vacation with you, you can put your headsets on and enjoy it. So you can do so much, your own research, everything. So it's great. I self-taught myself how to program and develop, because I love math, I love statistics. I really don't love to read that much. So in technology, we really scan. The language is broken up. That's why we have so many different languages. Because once people figure it out, they write their own language. Yeah, and call it an object, package it up, and sell it to us for thousands of dollars. Right?
Oh, stay right there. Wait, don't get too deep. I want to come back to that. I want to come back to that.
We're all innovative. We just have to tap into that piece.
Mr. Taylor.
Adrian Taylor, and I just feel very fortunate because I can relate to the video in particular. Almost a decade ago, I decided to move down here to Florida, and I didn't know all the opportunities that that gave me the potential for. But one of the things has been in the digital media space, which the youth know, and I'm talking like anybody under 30 knows, that's their primary source of information. They have tons of relationships across digital media forums, and that is the preferred communication medium right now. So working with YouTube content creators, working with platform operators and artists is like the newest sort of trend that we're seeing as digital media marketers and ad agencies. Is artists want to they want to be exposed to the global marketplace and don't want to be limited to the conventional means of getting their work out that they were limited to for probably the last 100 years. So anybody can be an artist, anybody can be a content creator, and your innovation only drives your brand globally. So the opportunities that exist for anyone doing anything in the digital arena are endless.
All right, we'll keep going in that direction because we want to debunk a couple of things and open you guys' minds up to some new ideas here surrounding tech. So each one of you unintentionally talked about a different area of tech, right? I know the general consensus is I have to be good at math, I have to be really good at computers, and I'm neither of those things, so I don't have a place. The words of the great deceased Charlie Murphy, wrong, wrong. I suck at both of those things, but I do partnerships, DEI, HR, and all those other things for tech, and create opportunities for folks to come into it from that perspective, right? I am not, under any circumstances, going to sit down in front of a laptop and code anything. I'm going to call her, right? But what I can do is connect a whole bunch of folks in the community, get 3 or 4 nonprofits, 300 or 400 students or young people, and coordinate a 16-week program for people to be able to learn these things, right? And that's just as valuable. So everybody has a skill set that is relevant in tech. So could each of you kind of speak to different ways that you've worked in and around tech that may not necessarily be the stereotypical or traditional idea of someone who sits in front of a computer and does problem solving or coding all day?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if any of you have heard of the term imposter syndrome. Well, I've definitely felt that throughout my career. So my background was actually in hospitality and event management. When I went to school, that's what I studied. I knew I wanted to be around a place that we're just bringing people together, whether that's for education, networking, things of that nature. So luckily throughout my career, I've been able to stay within that same vein, but now I'm able to apply that for the tech and innovation community. So one of those ways, as we mentioned, one of the annual conferences and programs that we do throughout the year, really my core role every day is finding different thought leaders and communities, to his point of finding the people that are actually doing it, and how can I further amplify their message? How can I give them a platform? How can I connect them with other innovators and leaders and help them connect further so that way we can all grow and build and develop together? So my role prior to this, I worked for an accelerator company where we help startups talk to different skill sets to grow and expand their business, help them how to talk to investors, how to pitch their company. And my role in that was organizing what we call demo days. So we invited different investors in from across the state. We trained the companies on how to pitch their business and created an environment for those deals and those conversations to happen. So although I wasn't developing the startup, although I didn't have the software solution, I created opportunities for those two entities to come together so that way those innovators can have more exposure, give them a more platform, and ultimately promote what they're building and doing right here in Florida.
And how much math did you do?
As far as my budget numbers, that's about it.
For me, I'm the hands-on guy. I do infrastructure. I'm layer 1. If my stuff doesn't work, their stuff doesn't work, right? So putting in fiber optic cables, designing data centers, all that kind of stuff is what we do. My wife always says, "Oh, you don't do little tech," because I have problems with my phone. But I can build you, I can build you, a satellite dish, and get it up and running, and I don't have problems with that. That's how I came into it. My background or my degree is business administration with a minor in computer science and information assurance, and I have a Six Sigma black belt from Vanderbilt University online class, whatever. So I brought all that into what I do. So the process management part of it, the process, what happens if this happens over here? How can I make this be more efficient? Why do you have to go through 3 different people to get this commercial to play on air? How can we streamline that to make, once the person says, okay, this is the right commercial, and this person says, okay, it passes QC, it can air. So I looked at it from that standpoint, and those are the kind of innovations that we tried to bring into everywhere I was. Like I said, that's me, and that's how. And I got into it on a humble, really. I've always been a hands-on person, and one of my aunts worked at Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin was doing EBT, electronic benefit transfer, way back when. I might be the oldest person up here, and y'all just don't know it. And I started installing EBT machines. I have a friend who worked at Verizon, and I would call him the night before and say, hey, this is what I have to do. He would tell me what to do, and I would go do it. And that's how I learned, telecommunications. And from there, it just went up and up and up and up. So,
See, I love that. See, he had a collegiate skill set, but somebody just told him what to do.
yeah.
So he was able to pick up the thing, help him move forward. Great opportunity. Right going into road. Nice setup there. Nice setup there.
So my background, I'm gonna give both sides. So my background, I have an industrial engineering degree, and I did take a lot of math, enough to get a minor, because that's what the curriculum was. And then I worked at Kennedy Space Center for about 14 years. Did reliability engineering, which was a hazard analysis. It was analysis on the shuttle, and reliability engineers weren't needed, and so I needed to kind of pivot, if you will. And so that's how I got into performance engineering and also data analytics. As soon as the shuttle went away, they realized that data is actually very important. I think data is queen, and they needed to get their data situated. I mean, there's a lot of data, but it was not structured correctly, and so that's how I got into data analytics, and went as far as to get certified as a professional in business intelligence, and also certification in data analytics, and been kind of focused on that and AI since then, and just adding more to my skill set. And so I guess that's kind of somewhat of a traditional, non-traditional route into tech. On the other side, with Black Orlando Tech, we have a program where we did a proof of concept, because I am of the firm belief that anybody can get into tech. As long as you have the village, as long as you have the support system, as long as you have the resources there, anyone from anywhere can pivot into tech. That means no tech experience, that means no degree, and that can even mean, which again, something I want to prove, it could also mean those who don't have a high school degree. You can get into tech as long as the resource is there. So we have a program we call Tech Cohorts, where we go and we pull in experts from the community who are skilled in some sort of tech skill that's trending and in high demand. Salesforce is a big one, so Salesforce administration, AWS, which is cloud, data analytics, cybersecurity. We bring these individuals in, and they go and they teach cohorts to those who are interested in pivoting into tech. And so these individuals come in, they'll take between 8 to 24 weeks. It's all depending on the tech skill. And the instructor creates a curriculum that they're teaching these individuals these tech skills. And these individuals are coming in with no tech experience. And so they're teaching the individuals, they're also teaching them to an industry certification that's well recognized. And these individuals, they take the cohort, they complete the cohort, they go and get certified with our assistance and our support as a village for them. And then we leverage, once they get certified, we then do a couple more things. We have programs where we'll work with other nonprofits to provide some tech service, like, do you know the Wells-Built Museum in Orlando? It's an African-American museum. They needed their website rebuilt. They needed to get onto a CRM for their customers, and they also needed some digital marketing. So we created a hackathon where we did that for about 6 hours. The individuals who went through the cohorts came in the hackathon and worked on that project with leads from our organization. That 6 hours they were able then to take and put on their resume as work experience because they worked on this. And so average individuals who come into this program within, I want to say about 10 months, 9 or 10 months, they're pivoting into tech. And I'll give you some examples. We had one young lady, she was a paralegal making $35,000. She took Salesforce administration. Within 2 months, she got certified, took the cohort and got certified. At that time, we charged $50 for that class, $50, and she then, I think 6 months later, got a job as a Salesforce administrator making $75,000. So within under a year, she more than doubled her salary. And so when you think about what type of change that makes for her family, her kids, that is, I feel, a domino effect that can affect her and her kids generationally. We had another individual, I think she's our biggest success. She was a teacher. She actually worked in virtual school. She came in, she was making early 40s as a teacher. She got her Salesforce administration. Salesforce administration is a big one, but there's other tech skills. She got that within 3 months. She stayed as within the virtual school, public school, but she went from being a teacher to their Salesforce admin, and so that increased her pay by $20,000. And then a year later, she got an opportunity through Salesforce themselves to come in and become a manager, and she went from $60,000 to $120,000. So this young lady has 4 kids and basically tripled her salary, and is now a manager with Salesforce, working from home, traveling around the country, running programs, 120 base with benefits and stocks and all that other stuff that you hear that you hear about. And she did that in 2 years. 0 debt.
You say how much student loan debt did she
Zero.
incur during that process?
Zero. And she paid $50 for the class. Like right now, when we first put it on, we wanted it to be as affordable as possible. $50, and that was her return on investment. And so it is proof that it can happen. I believe it can happen. These are folks who are, at any age. We had, the oldest person we've had was 65, and she wanted to transition. She's transitioned. So what is needed is the community and the village on our end, and then your believing in yourself, and you wanting that for yourself, because we can't want for you what you don't want for yourself. So as long as you have that and you connect to that village and those resources, it's possible. So,
Hold on, I want to do a quick pivot and then start on and come this way, because where we are is a great place. Because of what I wanted to address now are some of the things that you just spoke about. What are some of the barriers for careers into tech that you see? And what is something that you do, either personally or professionally, to help overcome those barriers or prepare people to overcome those barriers themselves? And we'll start with Adrian now.
Wow, that's great, because I don't think most people really grasp the full spectrum of the digital arena. Okay, so there are content creators that are making $40,000 a month because they have YouTube subscribers. All right, and their content's trash. Okay, yet you have some distinguished universities, foundations, other academic bodies that don't even have a YouTube page. So the big takeaway that I impress upon everybody is, if you do anything, you should have a platform. Okay, all of these panelists, besides Zeb, because Zeb's got 5 platforms, should have their own YouTube page where they could literally say, hey, go to here, and that's on their card, and everything that they just said is on their YouTube page. And people can stop it and show it to a relative, or show it to somebody else, or show it to a possible collaborator. I mean, this is like wide open space, and all you have to do is pitch a tent and get it popping from there. Whether you're selling something, whether you have a message, whether you got a cause, it doesn't matter. There are more people out there who are thinking along those lines, or want to support what you do, or want to fund what you do, than you have any idea about. So to think of your computer, think of your phone as literally a gateway to any world that you want to be in. And I think if we can grasp that, then everything else makes sense. Because, I mean, we're teaching people, you set up your YouTube account, you set up a Google account, and then you're off and running. And I think there's a lot of learning that people experience just by doing. and everybody's got this this incredible gateway in their pockets. Okay, so what we try to do is show people the potential of the digital arena and the accessibility of it. We've seen it as the new manufacturing, as far as anybody's concerned, because you can't not have a high school degree. You can start creating videos, and by the time you're up to your 50th video or your 75th video, you've got 1,000 subscribers and you're getting a check from YouTube. And that check comes every 2 weeks, as long as the page is on. No matter who's mad at you, no matter what kind of mood you're in, you got 24 hours in a day to shoot you a 10-minute video. You get that content up there, and you just let time pass. There are people, we have a client that is incarcerated, does live videos from the cell with laundry hanging. He has 726 subscribers. Our job is to get him to 1,000. He will start getting a check.
Wait, but here's the thing. I saw some faces. Here's the thing. This is what comes with that. Most black men in jail have what? Children outside. Right? If you want to get into the socio-political aspects of this, while they're in jail, they're still being charged for child support. And then when they get out, they're sitting at $150,000 of child support debt. And they're asked to get a job with a felony or fresh out of jail, and they know that every cent of their check. And and so now you're looking at recidivism because, exactly, I was going to look at recidivism because you're so much in debt when you get out of jail. The formal job you have to have, that check immediately goes out, you don't even get to touch it. They're like, well, what do I do to live? How do I eat? How do I afford $2,500 rent in St. Petersburg? Right? And so these opportunities, I saw some people who don't get to make money in jail, we're still human beings. If we're looking to break these cycles of poverty and recidivism, we have to be able to look at things the way that he's talking about and give these guys and women who are incarcerated some hope. And this is a fantastic way. So if somebody in prison can do it, think about what you or your cousins or nephews who may be living in impoverished situations, right? This is what you can be doing to bring extra food to the house. This is what you can be doing to help mom out with the rent. And these are things that you can do without paying additional funds, having to go to school, pay somebody for a certification. And that's what we're talking about. These are the barriers and how are we overcoming these barriers. So as we get to Lynn, I set that up because she has set up a fantastic way to overcome some of these barriers.
And with what Adrian said, I've been teaching people over the last 2 weeks all about Google. If you have a Gmail account, Google has so many applications in there that you can use. So they're like, what? I'm like, it's not the Gmail, it's not Gmail, it's the Google account. You need to use it. And I've been trying to convince people, upload them to your YouTube channel, and then that way you can always go back and see those videos. On social media, there's a time feed, they go away, people got to look for them. But on YouTube, they're right there all the time. And you can see that, because people like to put their kids out there, the great things they're doing, but they're on the time feed. And Google have all these apps that you can go out and learn. If you don't want to buy Microsoft package, Microsoft Office, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft have Excel, Google have Sheets. Microsoft have PowerPoint.
Slides.
Slides.
And
So you can, they don't, it's
and it's
free.
free.
You can go in there and you can actually learn all these great things for free. You can have your whole contact list right there and label them, group them together. So it's so easy to just get into that environment and use all those tools that's there. But in tech, like me, I started in tech and I started teaching myself. I worked for a company for 35 years, but I was an administrator in the GIS department. And so they had the analysts that were actually building the reports out. So, of course, we wanted more free time. I was an administrator. I would watch the process. We would gather all this data, take it into Microsoft, and then go to run for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden, the Apple computer will boom. We would get this flashing boom. And so you had to start all over again. So one day I was complaining to the guy at IT. I'm like, hey, you need to fix this. He said, I'm leaving in a week. Here, you got a book. So he gave me the book. And I knew the process of what it was going through. So all you have to do is go behind the scene and seeing what's being written. And so that's how I learned the languages. So I started out a tactician. But I gained all these skills. I didn't have a college degree, okay? I later got a college degree. But I gained all these technical skills by just teaching myself how to do it, you know? So I taught myself, I've been a tactician in that GI space, and I built a site analysis so that all 5 of the analysts can have the same report. Because when one person went on vacation, they would call the admin and say, well, I want what Kimberly gave me. Well, Kimberly on vacation, and Jeff can't give you that. So I said, well, we're gonna do it, everybody gonna have the same report, and we called it a site analysis. But I learned how to code it and then do Visual Basic behind the scenes. You can go in and view the stuff and automate those reports so they spit out, everybody's report look the same. It represents the company and not the person, you know? So if you want to give the client something special, you put your signature on it or a heart or something, but the report looks the same, right? So that's the consistency you get in technology. You know, the deliverable is, you know, it's just great. But I say that to say that even though all the skills I had, later I went back and I got my bachelor's degree, then I have a master's in business administration, because I don't need a master's in technology, because it's the master in technology. I feel like you have to wrap all that knowledge up and get a key to something, because people don't take you serious. So I went back and got a degree. But I just had an interview a week ago for a job as a BA analyst, and I didn't get a job. I felt like I didn't get a job because they didn't want to say that I was overqualified. But you said on there that I didn't have to have all that stuff. Be familiarized with it. It only took me, I looked at the application, it only took me 2 days to get familiarized with all 3 of the applications that you were using. Now, I don't care how much skill you have, you still have to be aligned with that organization and learn whatever that organization wants you to know. You can have all the skills you want, but you got to do it the way they say do it. So you can have all the technology background, everything you want, but you have to have somebody that's going to allow you to join that team. And if they don't want you on that team, you're not getting on it. I don't care how much technology you have. So sometimes it's good to look at the organizational chart too and see who is represented there.
Wait,
Because
look,
it's not-
wait, that's another question. We're gonna get to representation,
Okay.
right? Now we're gonna stay, yeah, I think we really want to stay on
Yes.
the overcoming barriers portion of it.
Yes, so I wanted to piggyback on what she said, because when it comes to jobs, all the jobs I got after my first initial job was not because of what I knew. It was, but it was who I knew. I didn't have to interview for any of them.
See?
Okay, because they found out I knew them, they knew what I did. One of the things, you know, just especially for the young folks and the folks who are, you know, in the middle of their career and are looking to change, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you have to network while you're at work. Okay, because
Say it again, I'm sorry.
network while you're at work.
Right,
Because what I would do is, while I was working at Kennedy Space Center, I would go, say I'm working, because everything is connected, just like when we talk about processes. And so I would do this analysis, and this analysis will be connected to this department, and then I would need information from this department. Everything is connected. And the way I go about is I look at things holistically, which is the bigger picture. I look at how things work as all together, and then I identify bottlenecks or where it's taking longer to come down, where there's issues, areas for improvement. And I will go to the other departments and say, hey, this is how you do this. You ever thought about doing this? And at first, a lot of people are like, well, you know, you will run into people like, you know, mind your business, own something else. Yeah, and that's a lot at Kennedy Space Center. It's a lot of folks because, you know, they just don't want to change anything. And then there's folks who do want to change. And that's how you identify the person who, number one, has the power to change. Because you talking to somebody who can't do nothing is pointless. Go to somebody who has the power to make the changes. And then start talking to them and say, and it could be little. It's like, hey, you want to do lunch? And then you make little comments, and all of a sudden they're implementing. They're like, you know what? I implemented this, and this worked. And so that's how I got those bigger positions, because they was like, man, she's good, and we need her on our team. Or you know what? Let's grab her up, because I've had positions created for me. That it's like it wasn't even that I was coming in to fulfill it. They was like, we need you, so we're gonna create this position so you could be on our team. So network while you're out there. The thing that's missing is advocacy. We need to advocate for each other, okay? And so if there's a position open in my area and I know this person is really qualifies and is really good, I'm going to advocate for that person. A lot of times we go into work and we're like this. We're like, I'm going to protect my seat, CYA, and it's all about me. And the thing about it is, it takes a village, because you never know when you're going to need that support. There's been too many times we've been in situations where, you know, again, working there, I was one of the youngest, so when we talk about the isms, I experienced all of them. The ageism, the sexism, the racism, and then my parents, I'm first generation here, my parents are from Haiti, and so I had to experience that too. You know, folks are like, you know, are you American? I'm like, what is going on? Like, what does that have to do with your job over here? And so there were times where people would set you up. You know, and it happens, and it's truthful. Yes, and even in Kennedy Space Center, you know, where you're like, you know, you're supposed to be launching. No, the people have too much time on their hands, and there's some folks who are so terrified of you taking their position, they will do things to harm you. And so when you go into work, you need to create that village and that support of people who could advocate for you. No one could try me with anything, because I had a ton of people who would advocate and say, Rose is not that type of person. She will never do that. And so those are the things that you need. So advocacy, you need your network, you need also always be learning. I say stay ahead of them.
Yeah.
As soon as when you're talking about, he was leaving, he was like, you needed to know this, boom, get it. Don't let nobody tell you to do it. You know how many times, just like when we did the data analytics, they're like, yeah, we're looking into doing data analytics. I brought up, I'm like, hey, this course is happening. What do you guys think about, you know, taking a few people and doing this course so that way we can get certified? And they're like, yeah, we're going to think about it. I went through and I read through all my stuff. I had my information ready. You know, I went through and did what I needed to do. As soon as they said, we're going to look into this new tool, I've already gone to YouTube University, read about the tool, and now you could call me an expert and I'm ready to go. Because if there's an opportunity, I want to be on that. And so always be learning. Always, you know, take advantage of any opportunities that come in there. Even in sometimes, you know, sometimes they don't pay. You know, they're like, hey, we're looking for a group to do this. You know, take that as a sacrifice, because that's going to put you in a position to have a return on investment down the line. But those are the, I think the biggest thing is that your network is your net worth. Network while you're at work, advocate for each other, get a mentor. It doesn't matter, like having a mentor, there's not an age for it. Like you don't have to be, you could be 16 years old, get yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach. You know, have somebody who's already way ahead of where you know, where they're at, where you're trying to be, so that way you can learn what they had to go through, so you don't have to go through that.
And for the most part, how it is today is for the more professional fields, especially with innovation and tech. As far as just starting off with showing what skill sets you do have, and it is a place where you can create your own content now. Video platform is now being added onto there, as well as articles and things. So already start showcasing what skills you do have. So when you do meet these people and they want to research you afterwards or want to know how to connect with you, I can't tell you how many times I went to networking events. I'm like, oh, how can I connect with you after this? Oh, well, let me find. It's like, no, I need you to already have this in place. Have a presence, whether it's a business card or something. Have those tools already established so people know how to connect with you. And once they connect, they have what you're exposed to. Also to the networking piece and about who you know and getting a mentor. Especially for those who are younger, and I've seen this a lot with different mentees and even my nephews and nieces that I do have, develop those interpersonal skills. I see it so often, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm quick to just send you a text, and I like second guess, I want to talk to this person, I don't feel like picking up the phone, I don't feel like going to this networking event, I'm done being social today, my social media is down, I don't feel like it, but that is where the connections happen, that is where the opportunities are. So getting outside of your comfort zone, having that confidence to step out and start the conversation. You may not be able to, you know, the more you do it, the more you develop that skill set, but I would hate to see further along where opportunities are missed because we're not developing our interpersonal skills, especially as a younger generation. Yes, text messaging and TikTok and IM and all that is great, but develop those skills. You're working with people in multiple generations, and that's something I've learned within my own field even now. And I'm in my 30s. I know I look way younger, but so I have been able to learn how to navigate. Okay, this is how I speak to when I'm talking with the CEO of this company. This is what they expect. They grew up in a generation, so communicating and connecting with them takes a different set of skill sets. Versus when I'm working with a developer who may be a little more, they tend to be a little more shy and maybe not as sociable, so I have to navigate and learn how to pivot and connect with them. So learning how to connect with different people, different races, different age groups, it is a lot, but there are tons of resources out there, and I promise you the more that you do it, the more the doors will open, the more you will find people to advocate for your behalf. To Rose's point, the past 2 roles that I had weren't because I found them on my own. Somebody else advocated for me and was like, hey, Basha, have you heard of her? She's skilled in X, Y, and Z. And because I had my online presence together, because I had the skill set to back up what people were telling me, when I showed up for the opportunity, I was ready to go. The door was there and connection was made and I got the role. So have those things in place. Start now. Don't feel like you have to wait, because I was guilty of that too. Oh, well, I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm not old enough. I don't look like this. Scratch all of that. There are people who are looking way different than you, who are confident, and they create those opportunities. They show up, and it's like, well, how did she get that? I have way more skills than she does or he does. But they took the chance. They showed up at the event. They spoke up. They introduced themselves to that person, and it's like, okay, closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths don't get the opportunities, and so I encourage each of you to do that. And I know he talked about connecting as well. So I want each of you to connect with a new person who you didn't come with, whether it's us, whether it's somebody you're getting sitting next to, because that's how we continue to thrive. That's how we continue to connect with each other. If you have LinkedIn, business cards, whatever, exchange them. Don't leave this room. You're here for a reason without connecting with somebody new and expanding on the opportunity.
Well, that just opens up what was it,
See
the
how I set
landing
that up for
strip?
you?
Yeah. Steph Curry that right on up. Allow me to talk. So what we'll do when we open this up right now to give you all a chance to do exactly what she just said, and to further your education, if there's some things that we missed that you wanted to know the answer to, I would ask that you come on over.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, I'm Mizu Lima. I use they, he pronouns. I facilitate the Reparations Hub and Garden and Collective in Tampa, but we facilitate in Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco County. And I was just wondering from all of you, because like I'm a farmer, I want to collaborate more in order for us as a collective of Black folks to like get free and be well in whatever field. And part of my question is, do you see in your fields folks that are, for instance, like outside of tech? I think you had some like great examples, particularly, especially for like people of more marginalized genders or abilities, like within the collective of Black folks, because even amongst each other, we still, some of us have more privileges and access than others in a lot of different ways. And have you seen any efforts, and are you involved in any efforts to be more inclusive and make more access, particularly for Black trans folks, Black sex workers, and Black undocumented people?
I'll answer that. I'll start, because the computer don't care what you are doing. You turn it on, it's there to respond to you.
Right.
So, and I've had the opportunity to train some City of St. Pete workers, their Park and Recreation department, and other departments that do not use computers. So they want to introduce tablets and use those on a daily basis. So they brought me in to make sure that they felt comfortable using the computer. So we started out with basic computers, because basic computer training, how to turn it on, where to find apps, what's the difference in an app or software, and what can you do on those devices, on your phone, on your tablet, on a computer, and just opportunity to just ask questions. So it doesn't matter who you are, you can get in that field. A lot of times, you know, tech people don't even want to communicate with each other. We're in technology, and I am an extrovert. So when I went home sometimes in tech, I was drained because nobody wanted to talk till we went to lunch. So, and this is how they got us. Because they feed, they bring in Coca-Cola, they bring in free caffeine and get you high on caffeine so you can code. And they dim the lights and that's the caffeine gonna fight against the lights and you and that computer talking. Nobody don't want to talk to you. But at 11:30, it's lunchtime, everybody started talking. 11:30 to 1, that's how it was. And then after that, we're back in our own space. They didn't know I was black unless I came out of the queue. Because I was doing my part, which in retrospect, teamed up with their part, so they don't care, it does not matter. I say that to say it does not matter who you are, you just have to get in that space of learning.
I think tech offers a safe space for those individuals. Like she said, it doesn't matter. You choose how to the environment, and you create the environment that works for you. So if you don't want to deal with people, I'm still trying to figure out the term because it seems like an extrovert, but I have a meter. And once my meter has been met, I'm down and I need to regroup. So I'm both of those.
You're Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Like introverted, extroverted.
Yes, I am, because I'm like this, and once I'm in the car, I'm like, whoo, and then I'm like, you know, quiet and you know, my music as I write back. But you create that's why I love about tech. You create your environment. And the thing about it is, so when you talk about the different industries, I have a term that I use, it's called tech unicorns. And what it is people who have skill sets in multiple areas, not just tech. And that's why I love about tech. You don't have to be, tech is not strictly tech. You talk about being a farmer, biggest one of the things that is popping on right now is AfroTech. It's big. Why? Because when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about, and again, I'm a little conspiracy theorist, so sorry. But, the way the economy going, we need to start learning about farming and stuff like that because the food shortage, but I don't want to get into that. But we, you know, the agri-tech, all that stuff, those are big because tech is needed in there. How, you know, food shortage, like how are we going to create more food? How are we going to be more sustainable? You know, we need, when we talk about the environment and the things that are happening and climate change, like tech is going to be a big player in that. And so I consider myself a unicorn. We need more unicorns where they're going to be experts in health and tech. So you got health tech. That's why they're coming all this terminology, fintech, ed tech, all of them. You know, because you need to have that intersection. It is needed. And again, because you're a unicorn, you are rare. So that means when you come to the table, guess who has the control? You do. Not the person that's trying to hire you. They're going to make it seem like they have control, but you have the control. Because how are they going to find somebody else who has X amount of years of experience in education? That's why the young lady I talked to you guys got that job at 120, because she had 10 years of experience. Actually, no, I think it's 15 years of experience in education. Then she had that certification in Salesforce. Where were they going to find another person like her? And then she ran our program, because our tech cohort program, Salesforce was doing the same thing. So she already had 2 years under her belt running that program. She was a tech unicorn. That's why she could go in there and make those demands, and they agreed with it because they needed her. And so those tech unicorns, that's what it creates. That's what we need to see more of. And so yes, I think it's a great industry or area to be in, especially those who want to be safe, because you can create your own environment. You can create your own group and your family and your village and stay and keep protected. And so when you ask the question, is there effort? Yes, but it's also, it's in line. It's not a specific effort like off to the side of the other effort of getting more diversity in there. It's inclusive in there. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a good way to kind of encapsulate is stop looking at the things that you were saying as ways that you're marginalized, and look at them as ways that you get to be more diverse than other folks.
I call it
because your identities that you bring to the table, once you blend those with tech skills, make you a force.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I would say be black first. Right? Everybody wants to say, oh, I'm trans and this, that, and that. You're black first. And inside of being black, you're trans or, whatever it is. Let that be your superpowers and go from there. I can't tell you how to be a black queer farmer with, however many years you've been doing it. You can tell me that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? You can tell me that. I could probably show you how to fly a drone to analyze your square footage of what you have. Somebody else may be able to write a program for you so that you can analyze your soil samples so that you can know how to get the most yield out of each square foot of property you have. Somebody else might be able to hook you up with something. Can't nobody tell you how to be a black queer farmer. You can tell us that.
Exactly.
Right? And then we can add that to our knowledge portfolio so that when we go talk to other people about X, Y, Z, here's this other little piece of knowledge that we have.
Is that, would you say that is creating your own table?
Thank you. Yes. Don't look at it. Don't. And maybe that's my fault. My father he sold real estate when I was little. There was a show called BJ and the Bears, and the dude drove tractor trailers. So when I was a little bit older, he got a truck company. My mother was a school teacher. So I take the entrepreneur side from my father and I need a consistent check from my mom. But, it's always been about, how can I do this for myself so that X amount of my money is not going to this person, or I'm putting in, 15 hours of work on this job and I'm getting paid for 8 or only 40 hours a week. So I've always looked at things like that. If you can do it for yourself, do it. Someone will come to you.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I think you mentioned performance engineering.
Yes.
What is that?
Performance, you're basically monitoring. So I did for government contracts. It was our contract. That's what I monitored, and I monitored the performance of the contract. And so there's deliverables or requirements and metrics for the contract that we had to meet for the government. And so what I did was I created a database that monitored those KPIs, key performance indicators and metrics, and to make sure that we're reaching it. And so anytime, once I created that dashboard, it would let you know when we were in a position to not meet it during that length of time. So this can be applied anywhere. I'm just saying that for my circumstance, for this one, it was for a government contract with KPIs and metrics. And so once we monitored and say we have maintenance that we had to do, you had to do 100% of the maintenance. That means anytime maintenance was done, it had to be done, and it had to be done on time, and it's 100%. So anytime that we had maintenance that we missed, for whatever justification, either we would go and get approval. I would start the process to get approval from Kennedy's, the client, KSC, to say it's okay that we missed it, so it's no longer calculated, or we're gonna have to figure out how to do this in time before this time frame is up. And so you're monitoring the performance, so that way you're meeting the performance that your client set for you.
So you're essentially building a system meant to keep track of other systems. Is that
Correct. Yes. Yep, that's it.
Okay, my story has been told so many times from that table. My name is Elaine Chambers-Dogan. I am an artist, but also the coincidence is I met this guy, Dr. Dallas Jackson, who in the world of art. However, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. After coincidentally seeing him at several different events, he found out that I was one of the people that he needed. Although we were doing art, he found out that I had 10 years of experience in civil engineering as a structural drafter, and they were looking for someone for that. So he recommended me for this job. He thought I had it, it was in a bag. He messed around, went on vacation, and he chose somebody else. And that upset everybody. So what he did was went in and created a position for me and got me started part-time, which bottom line worked in my favor because I had been away from that for so many years. And then I met this lady here who also has a background in engineering. And also, I want to be active in my community and do more for my neighborhood. So she's already done that and getting things done in the neighborhood with her background, and that's something that I want to do. But also, after hearing, I don't know why she invited me to come here. I just showed up because she sent me an email this morning. I had other plans, but I was like, well, I'm gonna move because she invited me. and I'm glad I came. I don't even know what this is
Come on,
about.
gotta ask the question. Come on, gotta land the plane, gotta land the plane.
But I just told you, if I need to be on your team, or if there's something that I need to do on YouTube, I'm just saying.
Oh, the question is, who needs me to be hired right now? Is that the question?
I'm just saying, because I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm just letting you know what's happening. So if the speed gets up, you know, if you need my number, I got a card, or we're available, but this is our background. This is our background.
The question is, do you need her help?
Yeah.
And we'll take that question for afterwards, so you can get more into the specifics of what she does to find out if there really is a connection.
Okay.
There you go.
But she also, her skills can be used at the community tech house, because she can come in and teach our community how
How can I get, that's a conversation I had with her. How can I get younger people or students to take advantage of this free learning that I have taken advantage of, and so that they can build their own skills and have something to offer in the neighborhood for somebody in their own community, instead of people that are coming in and doing what they do.
But see, that's a good question, because that happened, I'm on another board that teaches people how to do construction work for free. They've been, there's like, I could spit and hit 12 churches standing at the front door of the building. They got problems getting people into the group to learn how to do construction for free. Now I got electricians and plumbers that are friends that are willing to intern some of these people once they finish the program.
So you may need to get with Adrian to get some digital marketing, gotta get to specific areas to get
So,
opportunity out there.
I wanted to add, so we're talking about tech.
Well, I'll wait for you if it's too much.
No,
We're talking about tech, but when we come, we're talking, because he brought up a great point, it's trade. Again, when I left KSC, I left in 2019, and I'll give you an example. Well, when I left KSC, they had a program that they just launched. It was a apprenticeship program for welding. They were going to pay for the apprenticeship, you to learn how to weld, $30 an hour. And then when you graduated, you will be moved up to between $45 to $50 an hour to weld. You know why? Because all the welders were 60 plus, about to retire, and they had no welders left to come and take over, no young welders in there. And welding, when it comes to the space shuttle, I mean, we had the one space shuttle that crashed was because of a bad welding job. Wow. The one that came in and basically disintegrated on coming in, it was because when they were leaving, it was a bad welding job. One of the plates came off and hit something, and then when they came back, because of that impact, it just caused it to basically break apart coming back. Welding is critical and it's important. That's how much they're gonna pay, and you don't need to have a degree. Right. So when you talk about trade and construction, when we talk about young folks and they're going out, if college is not an option for them, they have these other opportunities and other options that are out there. The thing is not knowing that, because we got to get that information out, and also having that village to support them and tell them that you're going to do that. You know, once I found out about that, I told a whole bunch, especially black males, black boys, I told them about that. I said, go out there and go get on this. They're going to pay you $30 to teach you. $30 an hour to teach you how to weld.
And then $50 an hour after that.
$60
It's $2,000 a week, just in case you haven't done the math right.
And then you're talking about Kennedy Space Center, and you'll be working with them. So you could come out with, I know they don't do pensions anymore, but you could come out with some good, money, and also when you're ready to retire, that's a good situation. And so we need to start looking into these other options. And so, again, I'm a big thing. Like, I went to college, but, I have a daughter, she's 20 years old. I know I don't look like it. But she's 20 years old, but I gave her the option. I'm like, is college what you want to do? Because I understood that she could still be the best person that she can be without having a college degree. And I'm not going to sit there and force her if that's not what she wanted to do. So,
Dang.
All right. Well, also, I'm the person to keep up the time, so we're going to be aware of that as well. Hopefully my question is not as long. But I'm in a unique situation. I'm in a community. Some people know I'm a filmmaker as well. I am a teacher for Job Corps, which is a free program as well. So it's great to hear the resources that you have. But I also have a lot of students that are artists, fabulous artists. And so now they're looking at art and technology and FTEs and so forth like that. So my question to you is, how do I bring them into the future? Because there's so much happening with technology and art. So I'm just wondering if you have any concepts or ideas on that.
Partnerships. Sometimes you don't have to sit there and create a whole program by yourself. You got folks out here who are, you know, you can go and partner up with, and they'll bring what they have and connect it with what you have, and then you guys can create that program together. But I would say partner up. Partner up. When you talk, the folks who are over these nonprofit organizations, Black Orlando Tech, Black in Technology, there is a chapter here. Connect with them, because I know we go into organizations like yours, and we'll go and talk to them and do work with them and partner up, and that's because we're big on that, because it takes a village. We're in it together, we're better together. There's no sense for us to keep working in these silos. So big thing is to connect with folks who are doing this stuff already. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Partner up with them, have them come in and then teach your students. And you just let them know what you're looking for. They're doing art, I want them to learn about NFTs. We do monthly meetings over on our end. We just talked about NFTs, we talked about metaverse, we talked about blockchain, and we educate those who need education on that. And then if you're saying, hey, you want something specific for your kids, then we'll go and connect with you and say, okay, we're gonna go and do a virtual session, because that's big. Also, we need to be flexible. Do a virtual session where we'll go and talk to the kids and say, here are different ideas that you could do and look into from the art tech perspective.
I actually worked with Zulima. We met a few years ago working with communities. So I have kind of very similar concerns as Z, but my main concern is waste management. The United States throws away 40% of all food, and then we'll never have to, in regards to technological, there's so many things we've discovered, like lithium, steel, and different alloys that never have to be thought of again, and can just be repurposed. Instead of the plastic recycling doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. So all these resources just have to be reused again. So my question is, I guess, is that Z is concerned with food sovereignty. I'm concerned with food sovereignty. You get 10% of any Black majority zip code off of a grocery store. It's pretty significant economic input. And Florida just had a fertilizer ban, because of phosphorus. We have out of control agriculture. It contributes to red tide, all these things. So we need to develop community level systems of food and waste redistribution that is zero, it doesn't create methane and garbage, you know what I mean? It actually creates usable soil that can be redistributed and reused out, especially in Florida. The environmental damage, just in the southern states in general, Alabama is actually one of the most biodiverse states in the whole country, but it's just completely neglected because of its socioeconomic position. So my question is I guess, where does tech, you said tech agriculture is already a thing.
AgriTech.
AgriTech, but in relation to waste management,
yes.
and taking waste from grocery stores, dumpster, not dumpster diving, but
I understand.
You know what I mean? Yeah. How does that re-enter back in?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find this one. There's a Black young lady, has a startup company that's dealing in food waste, and she's in Miami. And I'm trying to remember getting the information on her, but there are startups out there who are working in that, that's why I said that, the biggest trend right now is to do innovation where it's going to help the world. And so she has one on food waste.
Here you go. They got Highland. SIT.com. They do, it's Highland Ag Solutions. They actually have somebody who's working on that now. Yeah.
There's a whole, there's I'm not gonna say a whole bunch, but there are startups out there that are working on it. So how do we address it? Number one, there's funding out there. A lot of times is so when they have funding grants and stuff, is to get those grants to focus on those areas. So if you want to go and create an initiative yourself, it has to be someone who has to advocate for it. And so it's the same thing as when you have somebody who's advocating to get more Black businesses, and and their financial situation in a better, get financial education. Once that's advocated, then you're going to start seeing funding come down to say, this is what we're focused on, and we need an organization to come, and so we can give this money to run this initiative. And so either, start up a cause for it, connect with the organization that's their initiative and their mission, or, there's the startups who are creating solutions and innovation in that space. And so those are the different things that you can do, but they're out there. You just have to, unfortunately, it's not going to be, top news. Top news is what Kanye is doing.
Yeah.
So.
But don't even start.
Sorry.
Please, Lord, don't bring you into the
But do
conversation.
you understand what I'm saying? Like, if now you go on there and you're gonna, you search that, you're gonna find that information, but it's not gonna be something that's gonna be out there on the top of the news. But there are people, because they understand. I mean, we got young folks now who are like, they don't even want to have kids because they're like, what are they gonna leave them to?
Yeah.
That hurts. So, go ahead.
I just want to throw this in the urban agriculture scene here in St. Petersburg. The edible peace patch would be a great resource because what you're talking about is upcycling and sustainable practices, and then using digital for efficiency as opposed to some of the more conventional. So your community garden, Bartlett Park Community Garden, the edible peace patch here is a great resource.
And Carla Bristol with the Pinellas Youth Farm,
Right.
Yeah.
they're doing
Right.
so I would say connect with them, and I said they just had the big Florida AfroTech trade show in April. So I would say if you just do a quick Tampa Bay AfroTech, you'll get a bunch of good organizations and stuff that are very close
Good
by.
art.
And it sounds like a good place for you all to go and start to build your team.
Exactly. So Good R is the tech startup. Her name is Jasmine Crowe, C-R-O-W-E. It's an Atlanta-based.
She said,
Sorry. Her name is Jasmine Crowe, and it's an Atlanta-based food waste startup. They just closed their first round of seed funding, and the startup is called Good R, all one word. Okay.
And then in St. Pete, there's also a startup called Brick Street Farms. If
Yes.
you're not
Brick Street,
familiar with
yes.
it, yes, who's
Yep.
leveraging shipping containers to
Shannon
grow
and Jerry.
more sustainable.
Sorry, you said bricks?
Brick Street Farms.
Yes.
Yeah, they're doing the whole-
Right around the corner here.
So, yeah.
Yes.
And then this is really fast, how would I go about getting a mentor? I've never been.
Stick it around.
No, when you get your mentor, please be very strategic on who you choose, okay? Because the first thing you got to ask is, what are you looking out from that mentor, okay? So you find what are you looking for? What industry they need to be in? What do you guys need to align in? Because you can't especially from the stuff that you just told me, we may not be the best ones because that's not my. It's important, but it's not it's not my skill set. So connected with, be bold. Connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn. I do that all the time. And the majority of the time they'll accept it. So be bold and identify who you want and say, you know what, I want this person to mentor me because they align with my values and my thought process, and then go that path. You may not get them, you may get somebody near them, you know what I'm saying, but you have to be strategic on who you get as your mentor.
Okay.
One thing I say to young people, because I deal with lining folks up with mentors, mentees all the time. You guys that are under 25, you gotta relax. Sometimes these people are super busy. And I see that, well, I sent them 2 emails, I haven't heard of them. After them, I don't care about them no more.
That's a red look.
Yeah, like, a lot of times these people are swamped and overwhelmed. Give them some grace. Let them know who you are, what you want to do, be persistent, but give them some grace and be patient. Don't give up on folks so easily, because a lot of times, they came to this, you don't know, there's 60 other people, and they're trying to figure out the best way to help you or to get in contact with you on the schedule that they have, because they got kids, they got husbands and wives and partners and all that stuff. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this last thing, you all have a test. You have a test. I know, see, Leslie's like, oh, no, I got my degree already. Go down the line. I want you to, in 2 sentences or less. 2 sentences or less. Because attention spans, TikToks is short, everything is short. 2 sentences or less, the best advice you can give these folks from your perspective in the field of tech, whatever it is, 2 sentences or less. I'll start with you.
Get some digital real estate. You don't know what that is?
Look it up.
Find out what digital
There it
real
is, get some digital real estate, thank you.
Google your interests and invest in yourself by reading up on it. Salesforce, as she mentioned, is a great thing. They have a game, and you actually can earn badges as you learn, you progress. And Salesforce is a good game that they can earn you some real money.
So what was it? Google your interests
Google your interests and invest in yourself. by
and invest in
reading.
yourself. Google your interests and invest in yourself.
Yes.
Become a unicorn, okay? You determine what that is. You define what the unicorn it is that you want to be. And also, be authentically you.
Yeah.
Be authentically you, because you are the best representation of yourself, and you are good and worthy as you are.
Be a unicorn, be your authentic
Authentically.
self. Be authentically you.
All right. I say this all the time. Black people built the pyramids. There is nothing that we cannot do. That's it.
Black people built the pyramid. And I will add last but not least.
Do your research, go see and be seen.
Do your research, go see and be seen.
That's rich. That's rich.
Those are quick. Everybody should have been touched by at least one of those. Now I'll tell you, of course I said mine earlier, confidence is how you go about your business. Cocky is habit to tell everybody about it. Be confident, never be cocky.
Yeah.